Blog Talk Radio.
Good afternoon and welcome to American First Patriot Podcast. I'm your host, Chauncey Brown. We're launching our first Patriot Podcast, American First Candidate Show today. I'm excited to have in the studio in queue U.S. Congressional candidate for the 5th District in Pennsylvania, John Hayes. He'll be in the studio talking about some of the challenges he's facing within his district. But just to give you guys a little update, Pennsylvania, like many other states, because of politics, are still dealing with redistricting. John's running in 2022. He has a primary coming up in this springtime, and the Democratic governor, along with the Republican legislature, failed to come up with some type of agreement to redistrict the state in order for candidates to know and take out petitions. So that's one challenge that they're facing. Also, John's going to talk about his challenges being a Republican candidate and how he's being left out of the Republican Party. So let me welcome, without any further ado, to the American First Patriot Podcast, U.S. Congressional candidate from Pennsylvania, John Hayes.
Chauncey, thank you for having me.
John, it's an honor and a pleasure to have you on. I know that, being a patriot, an American First candidate, you're a stand-up kind of guy. You're not in lockstep with the Republican Party, so a lot of candidates like yourself across the country are facing challenges and pushback from the GOP. What say you?
Absolutely. What say me? Well, what say me is what I've been saying since I got into this race. And when I decided to actually start to run, people over party. That's been my motto from day one. Okay, and that's the bottom line. I'm looking to represent the people, not a party. If the party wants to keep, ignoring me, that's fine. But you know what? It's the fellow conservatives that are trying to block me that it's really that's what kind of is getting through my crawl right now.
Talk about that a little bit, John, about the pushback you're receiving from conservatives about your candidacy. Yeah, talk about it. Talk about that they're trying to have you run for lower office. Talk about it. Talk about what's going on.
Sure. Yeah, out of nowhere, people are asking me to run for a state office. Now, I would love to run against the candidate that they want me to run against, because I can't stand that guy either for that state seat. And, yeah, it would be a great opportunity. But I got into this race for one reason. Yeah, go ahead.
No, you're right. You got in this race for one reason, and after that, I'll add to it, because I also want you to mention how they added a late candidate, carpetbagger, onto the ballot, who I believe, happens to be an African-American woman. No pun intended to whoever's listening, but I am an African-American conservative Jew, just for the note. All right, John, go ahead.
Well, I'm not gonna say that she's a carpetbagger. She's from the area.
Right.
Unlike the other candidate, he definitely is not from the area. You know, this guy's from Buffalo, New York. You know, he's definitely a GOP plant who will follow the party line. You know, he's all look at me, look at me. You know, this isn't look at me politics anymore. Okay, the look at me politics ended. It's now time to fight. Now, I don't know anything about my other opponent, you know, Miss Goodwin. I'll mention her name. You know, I don't know anything about her. You know, and I don't talk ill will of people that I don't know. So, I mean, she got into the race, good for her, and, you know, for whatever reason. But the fact of the matter is that, you know, there's two conservatives that are running in this race, true conservatives running in this race. Whether you support me or support, you know, one or the other, that's fine. You don't have to support both. But you know what? The backstabbing and the, you know, showing some, you know, putting a front up in the face and then stabbing in the back to the next second, really, that's what's hurting us right now. We need to be unified. Okay, that's the bottom line. We're not being unified again. That's what's going to kill us. We're going to keep putting up candidates that aren't going to fight. Now, I'm not going to say she's not going to fight, because she probably will. And, you know, I'm up for a fight too. I've been up for this fight for a year. I put in for this fight for the past year. In for the long haul. Whether I raise the money, whatever I do. You know, I don't care. I'm not in this for the money. You know, all I hear about is, oh, this candidate's got this money. This candidate's got this money. You know what? It's not about the fucking money. Pardon my language. I know I let that one slip. But, you know, it's not about money. It's about doing what's right anymore. This country needs to be helped. Everyone in this country needs to be helped. Gone down a wrong way. This country in this past year has started going down the rabbit hole again. Politics, as usual, took back over in 2020. And look where it's gotten us. Nowhere. It's gotten us it's going to lead us into a greater depression. Higher gas prices. Gas prices in Pennsylvania jumped 20 cents overnight the other night in certain areas. You know, food shortages still. Good shortages still. You know, nothing is going right. And people are still just falling asleep saying, oh, well. You know, what happened in 2020 was not right. I'm not talking about the election. I'm talking about just everything. The government has been against us this whole time. It's time we, the people, stand up. State seats are important. I agree with that. But the federal seats are a must. It's not about party anymore. These elections are not about party. These seats are about us. And we, the people, need to be the ones to stand up and take them back. And until we realize that, we're going to be in trouble. And I hope to God we realize that coming up.
You know, John, as I'm listening to you, a lot of candidates throughout the country. Even I did a show last night with the Raven Harrison, running for Texas out of the 26th district, talking about how other conservatives down there, she's a woman of color, veteran, and she's a biracial marriage, married to a retired major, and they have the conservatives down there calling her that she's really a Democrat and not a Republican. Everywhere she goes.
And
so
why
she's not a real Republican because they're using, it's unfortunate, they're like using identity politics like the Democrats are, because they're trying to say, well, she's black, that she's not a real Republican, she's a Democrat, but she's a constitutional conservative, she's a veteran. You know, I mean, this stuff is beyond, you can't make this stuff up where the GOP is going with this stuff.
No. And the identity politics has got to stop.
And we know
it's got to stop.
It does. On both sides, especially our side. You know, now.
Hold on. I just want to point this out. No, I just want to point this out. There is a reason why there's not a picture of me on my social media. Okay. Now there's videos of me on my Facebook, but there's no picture. There is no headshot of me. There's a reason. Because it's not this has nothing to do with identity. This is not a beauty pageant. Okay? Yeah, I can put a headshot of me anytime I want. But there's a reason why I have not put one up or put a picture of myself up. Because it's not to be judged on what you look like. You know, like I said, my one opponent, he's look at me, posing with his wife, pictures of him and his wife doing this, that, and the third. It's not about that. This is about what you're going to do, what you're going to stand for, how you're going to help the community. Our community needs help. We need to revitalize our businesses. Small businesses need to grow again. Small businesses have died over the past 2-3 years in our community, all throughout the 5th District. People have lost their homes. People have lost their livelihoods. But no one wants to talk about that. All they want to talk about is COVID and this, that, and the third. No one wants to talk about how everyone else is affected. Well, I do. I'm sick and tired of talking about everything else. I'm tired of talking about identity politics. I'm tired. I want to get down to the nitty-gritty of things. What really matters. That's what we're not talking about. Everything else that's going on right now is a smokescreen. Everything that's happening in D.C. is a smokescreen, the way they want it. The January 6th Commission is a smokescreen.
It's sad. And, you know, even listening to the national GOP leadership lately, you know, they're unfortunately, well, I should say fortunately, they're at least acknowledging that they have to support Trump because of the 80 million strong that we are.
Well, no. You know what? Here's the thing. The only reason they do it is because they want people to vote for them. That's it. Bottom line.
Exactly.
The GOP doesn't fucking – I cursed again. Sorry. The GOP, the national GOP don't care. Look at what McConnell did. He did it just so to get the votes. And now what is he doing? He's calling the January 6ers violent insurrectioners. Bull, you know what? Okay? He knows it. He was in on it. He called it a violent insurrection before Chuck Schumer did. Don't think we don't know that, Mitch. Mitch McConnell is nothing a fraud. Okay? Everyone that's in D.C. right now that is part of this, before anything actually happened, the supposed insurrection, They were all inside the Capitol fist